Hi, I'm Mara Webster with In Creative Company, and I'm so thrilled today to be joined by Essie Davis to talk about her current projects. She's currently starring in the movie Justice of Bunny King, along with the Netflix series Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. And starting with the Justice of Bunny King, it sounds like this was a very, very extensive preparation process for you in terms of character and even down to the dialect. It's not a completely dissimilar dialect from your own accent, but also very far away in terms of a lot of the specificity of sound, and there's kind of even just it feels like there's a real regional feel to this character as well. And so I was really interested in what your starting point was in terms of finding the character's voice and what felt really important in that aspect of building her for you.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time working on the accent. It is very complex, actually, considering it is quite close to the Australian accent, and because of the class as well that and the kind of specific area of class that Bunny is from, it needed to be 100% authentic. And we were working on the script when it first came to me was miraculously joyful and hopeful and powerful and potent and wicked and funny and still needed work on the third act. But when I went to New Zealand a year later to actually start working on it, it had just had the script had the life sucked out of it and just become this very bleak, dark, unhopeful, unfunny kind of thing. So Gason, our fantastic director, and I literally wrangled the script from its original hope and pulled it all back together. But we were constantly working on the script right up until maybe the day before. So actually working on the dialect was really, really hard because I didn't have the words I was going to say. And it's like every word you say might have a different impact on the word that follows it. So having that script to work on the dialect was really, really important. And but when I began, I was nervous because I was the only Australian on set. Everyone else was a Kiwi. And but we had a very eclectic bunch of beautiful New Zealand, mostly female crew, and I'd get little thumbs up from behind, wardrobe going, yeah, you sound like my mate. You sound like my mate. Just going, oh my God, she sounds like. So it took a long time to get it right, and I still, had to throw in a few vowels in ADR, but getting her voice was really important.
I really love that. And I read something where you were mentioning that there were a lot of women that you met with for this role. I know that you did also meet with people who worked at the version of kind of Dress for Success that we see in the film. What were some of those conversations or people that you wanted to meet and talk to really flesh out this character? And from that, what are some of the aspects that ended up being part of her characteristics and traits in the film and your performance?
Well, I was quite surprised, even when we were shooting scenes like at the SIFs. I don't know what it's called in the film. It's work and children social services. Nearly all of the extras in there were women who had been through who were talking in wardrobe going, oh, if that's happened to me, I've had my children taken away from me. I was astounded the amount of people who have been in that situation, and people on the poverty line, and people who have this thing called uplifting, where they have their babies taken from them at birth because they are deemed an unsafe mother because they've married to or boyfriend's a drug addict, or it's incredibly traumatic. And it seems like it's probably a Western worldwide phenomenon, but it does seem incredibly anti-female, very heavily based on whether the man has equal rights, or whether the man is safe or not. And I found it just incredible going to Dressed for Success. I don't know which one is ours, Dressed to Impress or Dressed for Success. Ours is not the real name, but the actual voluntary service that is provided in Dressed for Success, that was just a wonderful, wonderful thing to go and visit and experience, watch women get transformed, women who are out of jail, women who are on the poverty line, just a group of volunteers getting together outfits from this big warehouse of donated nice outfits to give them some kind of presentable appearance that makes them feel good about themselves and gives them a chance in getting work or getting accommodation. I felt like all of that was so integral to my creation of Bunny, also because, when you put an outfit on and you look at yourself in the mirror, it has such an impact on how you feel about yourself, let alone how other people view you. And that's what I also found quite wonderful in our Dress for Success, when Bunny doesn't want to wear any of these dresses or skirts, or doesn't really want to be there at all. She's happy in how she presents herself. To suddenly be given this, worn out blue suit and put it on, and it for me, it felt like a transformation of Bunny's character into this kind of superhuman, this potentially successful, accommodation worthy woman. And it felt like putting on an outfit that was, a John Travolta Saturday Night Fever kind of outfit. It felt so empowering and so cool and fun, and it suddenly gave Bunny this edge of confidence that she was a bit of all right. She could do this. The wardrobe and makeup and accent, everything comes together from the inside and the outside to help make this beautiful, specific go-getter woman who I'm just, I felt honored to play her.
Right. And I love watching that transformation that you bring. There's not even any words that she's speaking out loud to anybody in that moment of really having that shift from when she first walks in and is asked what her style is. And she doesn't even really know. And she's like, windscreen squeegee chic with a little sexy, it's kind of, I don't know. But I love that you create that empowering transformation, but you still allow for there to be a bit of recalibration and uncertainty. And even just that scene where we see you kind of walking in the shoes and there's a little bit of a cautious uncertainty. And,
she doesn't know how to, she's
like trying on a character when the real estate guy's talking to her and when he starts flirting with her. So there's the confidence, but also kind of the still trying to navigate it. And so how did you want to approach making sure that both of those sides still came forth, even though it is this real transformative moment for her? It doesn't suddenly revolutionize and change her into someone else immediately overnight.
No, it's definitely trying something on and trying on a persona or trying on a way of behaving with someone who's treating her completely differently to how she's been treated for years. So just juggling that and navigating it, and that kind of, Bunny, she's a good person, and she's generally gets on quite well with people, but she's, to be treated so flatteringly, it's this kind of how far can I take it feeling that she just goes, oh wow, that just kind of discovering the power of this magic suit and these magic shoes that she can't quite work out how to walk in heels, or, you know, she's been in the same pair of trainers with a hole in. She's got that dodgy bra that's still her dodgy bra, but she's got this wonder suit on, this kind of suit of armor that just, it's a bit clunky, but oh wow, it works. It's the invisibility cloak.
And in terms of her emotional plane as a character, you know, there's so many different facets that are coming forward in the film. And you were mentioning before the importance of the joy and the humor and the jubilance. And there's even just like heartbreaking levels of optimism where she still towards the end of the film thinks that they're going to bring her kids to her and have this birthday party. And at the same time, she's also dealing with loss and trauma, pain and grief. And that sometimes comes out as pain. And it also sometimes comes out as anger, the moment where she finds her niece in the swimming pool. And so how did you approach kind of finding the emotional plane of a character that is trying not to address certain things because they're too painful to look at, but inevitably come to the surface in certain ways, alongside making sure that you always brought forth that joy and jubilance that was so important to you in this character?
Well, Bunny wears a heart on her sleeve and is genuinely optimistic. She will fight for what she thinks is right, and that is to be the mother of her, to be the parent parenting her children. And I've had a few I don't always read reviews, but I have read a few where people have suggested she's got mental health issues. And for me, I never felt like she had mental health issues, but she has had trauma and she has protected her child from death. She has protected her children and she has gone to the absolute extreme to do so. And she has had childhood trauma. She's been through what her niece is experiencing. She's been taken away. She's been through what her children have experienced. She's been in foster care. She's been in bad situations and split up from her sister. And that trauma is underneath everything. But her hope and her love and her essential goodness, it just, she's just good. So when those times that where people are playing with that, when Tanya's playing with that idea of, you know, playing dead, or people, Bevan threatens both Tanya, his niece, but also threatens to take in Bunny's children. That level of territorial rage is just such a part of Bunny, where she's like, there's no way. She has killed in order to protect her children, and if she has to take things, if people can only exist through violence and anger, then she will take the violence and the anger. If they can't, just let her live her life and give her a break, then she will be violent and angry, because that seems to be the only way that she can stand up for herself. And one of the most empowering parts of playing this was the kind of letting go, the rage, the being able to vandalize Bevan's car. It was great fun, you know, getting out his spray can and writing scum on his car and weeing in his sunroof and smashing his windscreen, just in that fight or flight. And she does both. She fights and then she flies to her children and breaks the next lot of rules. And to me, it was just, she's a complex, fantastic character. And I never ever found her decisions wrong. I always felt like they were absolutely the right decision and the best she could do in that moment.
And in talking about a moment towards the end of the film, I really love the beautiful scene where she's on the phone with her daughter and singing happy birthday to her. But in essence, it's a goodbye, because it feels like there's a lot of immediacy and emotion in a lot of leading up to that. And that's a moment where she knows, I'm not going to see her anytime soon. You know, this is over at this point with everything that's happened. And so how did you want to go into filming a scene like that has so much tenderness and emotion, and especially for a moment that you're also delivering as a performance without the other person on the other side of the room as a scene partner to you?
Well, it was really important that that she give her daughter this great birthday party. And she's honest enough with her teenage son, who she knows, and she can tell him that she's fucked up, that it's not it hasn't worked out the way she wanted it to, that yet again she has going to disappoint him. But she's going to do the best she can to still have that lovely birthday message to her daughter, to make her laugh and smile. And she's not going to sit there weeping so her daughter can hear. She's going to go, "Yeah, you're the best. I love you so much." She's got to still give her this birthday party because she promised it. And that's it's you can't help but be in this kind of painful place, because it's not how she wanted it to be. She's got her all of these really cool presents that she's stolen and she's set up this incredible, beautiful birthday party room in the place where she's keeping her SIF's agent hostage. And she's, it's so hopeful and so messed up. It's I think it's an incredibly important film, and the voice of so many women who haven't had their voices heard, and because I think it's a really positive, hopeful, uplifting kind of film, even though it's about really dark stuff. It's a film where you should be championing for Bunny to succeed, to be outrageous, to feel rage, to take things to the most extreme, because so many women are stuck in this situation. And there's no matter how hard you behave yourself, you're not necessarily going to win that way either.
No, I absolutely agree in terms of the film. And in jumping over and talking about Cabinet of Curiosities and the anthology series and the episode that you're in, you're playing this woman who's got such passion and dedication to a life that she spent in studying birds to such a degree that her and her husband literally make bird noises to each other when they're communicating at one point. And so what was the window into your process and your journey of really understanding and tapping into that passion and really understanding what it is that connects her so much? Because it's not just an intellectual thing for this character, it's a really emotional thing for her as well.
Well, she's a woman in the 50s who's been through Cornell University, and not very many women had the opportunity to do that or were regarded in any way. And in fact, for her to be able to go on these field trips, it's very lucky that she met her husband and that he was also interested in the same things, because women were not given money to go on field trips. So the fact that they are, as a couple, were able to go and study these murmurations of the Dunlin birds in Nova Scotia together is quite an outstanding achievement. And the whole opening of that film where she's giving this lecture, and then even though her husband has done wonderful photography and film work, that he gets all the kudos, even though she's the essentially the brains behind the study of the actual Dunlin behavior, and I think that kind of passion and curiosity, and essentially to be a bird watcher you have to be quite a quiet person and personality. And working with Jennifer Kent before we began, and Andrew Lincoln, we had just a wonderful, very brief rehearsal period where we built our characters together, and just the shyness and the quietness of those two people having found each other. But in the story, we've been together a very long time, and having had that. Having had this kind of history where they've had a child very late in their relationship, and that child has passed away, just living with that grief and not being able to express it, being sort of unable to express that grief. And then the incredibly haunting beauty of murmurations, of those bird murmurations, which give me goosebumps just imagining them in my mind. They are otherworldly and supernatural, and you can really understand why this has become an embodiment of freedom, but also an embodiment of what essentially becomes this other previous family's grief and stuckness, and the fact that these birds are just kind of stuck, grounded to this house because of this grief that is in this house. And Nancy's ability eventually to embrace her own grief and be free and let the birds be free. It's kind of, I think it's really interesting
concept. It is. You're bringing up before the idea of, for someone to be a bird watcher and to be so involved in that space, that they have to be kind of a very quiet and very patient person. And so in your performance, there's a real deliberateness to the pacing, a real kind of gentleness to anytime she speaks, her voice is very low and very quiet, because she's used to being, even with her husband, around these animals. And there are some moments where she speaks a little faster or she raises her voice, but it's with so much intent. And so did you find a lot of the deliberateness in terms of her dialogue as a character, and even just her movement being very slow and cautious? Did that really come out of that rehearsal period that you were mentioning with Andrew and Jennifer, or were there elements of that you found on set as well once you were in the setting?
Well, both, really. Both. I mean, it was a very brief rehearsal period, but it was very detailed. And I think we both found the way our characters moved, and essentially, together with Jennifer, managed to recreate our entire relationship in about 3 days. So we had this shorthand with each other. I could just literally look at Andrew in the eye for any reason in any scene and be wherever I needed to be, because we knew our history together. And I guess then the physicality and the dexterousness of their ability with the sound recording equipment and tent putting up and things that came with practicing with the elements in the space. And then just having that amazing house to work in and walk through and run through, and I guess every little bit you find stuff all the time. So you never stop working. Even now, I'm still going, I should have done that. I should have done that.
love the way that, you know, Jennifer and you and Andrew have used genre and used that idea of kind of like a very slow build of tension and it being very much in this emotional space for the character and everything that she's going through in her relationship and the loss that you were speaking about that they've experienced. You know, and in terms of building that and really also seeing her as an empathetic character who, as she starts to see something in the house, as she starts to hear noises, as she starts to see the birds doing different things, it's that she's drawn to it and very connected to it. Did you and Jennifer talk at all about the idea of tension? Because it feels like so much is led by your performance in that regard, but also that it's just a very character-driven, emotional-driven piece.
I don't think we talked about tension. But you can feel when it needs to be that. This is a woman who is unable to grieve and who is a scientist when all of these unscientific things are happening, and she half believes she's going mad. And she knows that she can't tell her husband because he's a scientist and he'll go, "You're going mad, darling." And he clearly doesn't hear or see what she hears and sees. So I think that element of a scientist can't possibly experience this, therefore, who am I? And I have all these feelings, but when I feel them, he doesn't want them. And when I'm not feeling them, he wants me to feel something. Just that kind of internal dilemma of, and she just gets stuck and more angry because she can't own who she is, what she's been through, or share what she's going through. So it's quite a sad, very sad story, really. But the tension and the those kind of thrilling chills and scares that come mostly with those, you know, that little hand coming over the shoulder and they're I think Jen Kent is very good at she's written this, it's her, it's, you know, she's very good at seeing what's creepy, and I'm very good at doing what's creepy or being creeped out, I guess. I'm good at being creeped out. Terrified.
I really, really love this collaboration between the two of you in creating this episode. And these are both such fascinating projects that really, you know, in essence are exploring women going through this idea of trauma and grief in very different ways and very different genres. So it's really fascinating to hear all these details. Thank you so much, Essie. Really, really appreciate all of your time today.
Mara, it's been delightful. Thank you. Thank you for your time.